Blessings, blessings, blessings. Father God, in Jesus' name, we thank you for raising Black leaders of authority, courage, and knowledge for such a time as this. Clothe us with your wisdom, anchor us in integrity, and fill us with fearless faith. Let our voices carry truth, our actions reflect justice, and our lives reveal your glory. Strengthen our minds, steady our hearts, and establish our steps as we love and lead, serve with humility, and walk in kingdom authority. We declare we are empowered, equipped, and appointed for impact. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen. And why don't we turn over to Dr. Breakthrough, Dr. Stan. Thank you, Dr. Stan. The reason you are here is because we all would not be here if it wasn't for the gracious connections you make unconditionally every single day to people, including myself. So thank you for all the introductions you've made to make these programs more successful.
Hey, man. Well, thank you, man. It's a privilege and a pleasure, a treat and a treasure, a joy beyond measure. Appreciate you. And again, anything that God does through me, I'm just so grateful. And I tell people all the time, I was a nobody, but he made me into a somebody. And now I'm committed to telling everybody he can do the same and a whole lot more through anybody. And that's what this is all about. 100th anniversary. It was 1926 when Carter G. Woodson started Black History Week. And then 1976 when it started as Black History Month. So this is the 100th anniversary of this celebrating. And again, the scripture is clear. He that despises a neighbor is because of a lack of wisdom. And so when we're educating, not just, ourselves, but everybody else, I mean, we all can look at people as who they are, not judgmental, not preconceived notions. And so that's what's powerful. So again, thank you, each and every one of you for spearheading this. And thank you who are watching. And by the way, we need you to spread the message. Let people know this is powerful, it's practical, and it's designed with your education and your empowerment in mind. So I close with this, and that is, they used to say that you're a product of your environment. And I was like, that's part right, but actually you're a product of your empowerment is what I say. And so we can change our empowerment by being part of this Black Hour of Power every day. By the way, Doc, the other day I was in tears just seeing people honoring other people that are so powerful. Unlike the crab in the bucket, one crab's trying to get out and they pull him back down. No, you're producing a reverse crab in the bucket. We're like saying, hey, Dr. Cassandra, you're doing good, but you can do even better. Go ahead, Tanisha, you got this, girl. Go ahead, Dr. Smile. Go ahead, Dr. Smiley. And so thank you again and appreciate each and every one of you. I'm honored to be here with you.
Thank you so much. And finally, I'd like to have the voice of our director of events, who has a very, very big shoes to fill. She does all these events. We have over 300 events in February, and I don't know how we do without her. The Smile Channel rejoices because of her smile and her spirit. Thank you, Tanisha.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Smiley, for this vision and allowing me to participate and be a part of the execution of it all. We're excited about so many people being illuminated in this month. There is such a great opportunity. And the wonderful thing is that you still have time to participate. You still have time to share about the leader, the Black leader that is influencing and impacting you. So make sure you go into the comments and click the link where you can sign up to be a part of this Bold Leaders of Authority, Courage, and Knowledge. It is going on every single day in February, every single day for just 1 hour. 1 hour for you to share about the leader you know, and 1 hour for you to learn about leaders that you have not even heard of yet. I've already been reminded of some people that I had forgotten about, and been encouraged about some people that I was like, oh, I forgot they did that. Oh, I never heard of them. And so if you want to learn something new, if you want to be a part of someone else learning something new, then this is a great opportunity for you. And even more so, share it on your socials, share it on your email list. Listen, copy the link and put it in your email list and blast it out for Black History Month, because we want you to be a part. So we thank you for supporting, and we look forward to bigger and better.
Well, I have a surprise for the three of you, because there are so many people we can speak about, and this month is actually taught me a lot about how people are ticking, like how they're inspired. But gratitude is when you actually share how someone touched your life. And I want to share this because there are not enough days in the month for me to speak about the people I would like to speak. But if anyone would like this list of 200 amazing, inspiring leaders, I am going to be speaking about several of them. But this list is available to you. It gives you ideas of who you can speak about. And there are 200, and I will whip through this a little quicker here. And you can have this absolutely for free. And please nominate somebody who wants to speak about a leader if it's not you. Thank you very much, and welcome to Black History Month, Hour of Power. So next we have our host today, and today is the 4th of February, so it is our 4th Hour of Power.
Well, so much for that. Okay, I hope you can hear me because right now Dr. Smiley's frozen onto the screen. But my name is Dr. Michelle Moras, and I am the host today for the 23rd day of the Bold Leaders of Authority, Courage, and Knowledge Hour of Power. And yes, that is Black Hour of Power. Let's see. Anyways, I'm with Perfect Publishing, and I am hosting this hour. I've got 7 incredible speakers, possibly 6 incredible speakers, and our screen has locked up. You know how live things go with technology. Please stand by.
To Black, Bold Leaders of Authority, Courage, and Knowledge. I have 3 of my brothers and sisters here to help with
Hello, welcome to the Bold Leaders of Authority, Courage, and Knowledge. Thank you so much for sticking with us through that technical difficulty. We played that pre-video with the prayer and it just locked on the screen. So my name is Dr. Michelle Moras, and I am the host of the next hour of the Bold Leaders of Authority, Courage, and Knowledge. That is Black Hour of Power. I've got 6 to 7 speakers with me, and each of them ready to share their historical figure for Black History Month. Our first speaker, let's get on with this. Our first speaker is a motivator by calling. He's a motivator by calling. He's a polymath by practice, and a master level fitness professional, author, social activist, podcast host, lyricist, mentor, and entrepreneur whose work inspires people to live with purpose, discipline, and intention. Known for his message that anything is possible when the vision is clear and the work is done with heart. He empowers individuals across generations to pursue growth, leadership, and personal excellence. At his core, he believes in living boldly, loving deeply, and approaching each day with courage and joy. He focuses on the step in front of you and not the entire staircase. Please welcome our first speaker to share today, Kevin McLemore.
Thank you, and thank you, Perfect Publishing and the Black Hour of Power. Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Kevin McLemore. My champion is brother John Lewis. I'll just keep it simple. Before I had any titles, before I had any achievements, before I had any roles, I had a lot of questions. Who am I? The questions we all should be asking ourselves. Who am I when no one is watching? Who am I when my voice shakes at night? I ask myself, who am I when courage is required? I ask, who am I when history calls my name? Tonight I speak about who I am, but how I can help others shape their lives. And through the story of the young man that I honor tonight, Congressman John Lewis, he is the foundation from where I come from. When I look within my circle of people that have impacted my life, none of them were famous. None of them were household names. None of them, their names weren't written in history books. And yet, they shaped the history inside of me. They have all gone, but their life lessons, they live inside me. As a child growing up in 1960, life did not provide me with many opportunities that, like many others, had. And if I must explain what I mean by what other people had that looked like me, I have to say people that were Black. But my world yesterday is not much different than my world today. Money, greed, social divide still makes headlines. But the difference between my yesterday and today is that I have more of a voice. And yet, even today, the conversation I choose to have at this very moment, it costs me my freedom, my job, and even my life. So when I speak for those who spoke before me. I speak for those who speak long after I'm gone. And I speak for those that are professional risk takers. My mother, Norma Jean Robach, she marched with Dr. Martin Luther King, and she walked in the civil rights movement. But one day I asked myself the same question I have asked many people that had participated in the march. I said, Mom, why didn't you let your children march? And she said, sweetheart, the movement is about nonviolence, and my children were everything else but nonviolence. That conversation still lives with me today. Because I often wondered if I had marched beside John Lewis, if I had stood on that bridge, would I have had the courage that John Lewis had? I speak tonight for my fraternity brother, an American civil rights icon, a freedom writer, a longtime United States congressman from Georgia, a man with unwavering commitment to nonviolence, protested alongside 600 other men and women, Black and white, on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Alabama in 1965, a day in our history that will forever be known as Bloody Sunday. He was beaten, his skull was fractured, his body was broken. And yet, His spirit remains unshaken. He fought so you and I could vote, so you and I can have a voice that could be heard, so you and I could belong, so you and I can call this place we call America our home. John Lewis spoke of good trouble, necessary trouble, and always pushing towards equality, always pushing towards inclusion, always pushing towards justice for all. The question that John Lewis left inside of me is the reason why I carry his name in my heart today. It's because he leaves me still answering that question of who am I? I don't know if I could have stood there and been beaten by a state trooper and not fought back. What kind of mindset finds peace in the middle of chaos? How do you forgive a man that nearly almost took your life? And how do you embrace love that once stood before hatred? I still shake my head when I read his story, because in my heart, I still battle the lines between right and wrong, between reactions and restraint, between anger and peace. For me, there will never be a question that I can't answer, and maybe inside of me, I will still grow. My grandfather once said, in order for me to be equal to any man, that I had to be 3 times better. And as a child hearing these words, something rose inside of me. My thoughts, I don't want to be equal to any man. God made me special. God placed me here for a purpose. So I told myself that I would be 3 times better because the world would have to compete against me. That mindset shaped the man I am today, helped me become the authority I am, gave me the courage to overcome obstacles, and gave me the knowledge to turn the pages to the hero that I recognize today. Growing up, I always thought a hero was nothing but a sandwich. And many times in my lifetime, I've met people that I had admired and they were only disappointed. They only disappointed me. But July 17, 2020, when I heard that Brother John Lewis had passed, I went to the back room of my office and I dropped to my knees. Not for the loss of a fraternity brother, not for the loss of a civil rights leader, but for the loss of a true American hero, a man that showed up and showed us what courage looked like, what sacrifice looked like, what love looked like. But I asked myself, who am I today? I am a voice shaped by struggles, other people's struggles. I am courage shaped by other people's sacrifice. I am purpose shaped by those who came before me and stood up for me. I'm the son of a woman who marched. I'm the grandson of a man that demanded excellence. I'm a brother of a movement that refused to die. I am still searching. I'm still questioning. I'm still growing. I am a man that's trying to answer these questions. Who am I? And if I could stood on that bridge, who would I be today? Until I find an answer, I continue to honor John Lewis in the only way I know how to, speaking his truth, standing for justice, choosing courage over comfort, and getting into good trouble. John Lewis is no longer with us in the physical state, but he lives on in my heart, where love begins, where peace was born, and where courage grows. And although I still have questions to these and without answers, I will continue the journey. I will continue the fight. I will continue the work because freedom requires a voice. Justice requires courage, and history requires witnesses. And so tonight, I leave you still with this question that I ask myself: who are you? And when history calls your name, will you answer? Thank you for allowing me to have this platform to honor Congressman John Lewis.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And we'll all come back together after our last speaker, and we'll all discuss what we've learned from each other, because that was powerful. Thank you, Kevin. Our next speaker our next speaker is one of the first legitimate pioneers of reality television. She has made her name unforgettable in the entertainment industry. Now she's the founder of the nonprofit flamealliance.org, where she focuses on teaching athletes tools that open up overseas opportunities to play basketball and soccer, as well as she is also the president of Live Streamers platform and that broadcast to over 162 countries. And powerful. So please welcome our next speaker, Roz Taylor Jordan.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle. Thank you, Dr. Smiley. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It's very exciting. So I realized, and how grateful I was for the opportunity, that the woman behind me, Mary McLeod Bethune, I didn't realize how much she's like really inspired my life. Because I found this book. You can see it, probably can't see it. When I was a young girl, I did a story on her for school. And when I was asked to who impacted me, I said, well, let me think about some of the people that I've covered. And when I delved deep into what she did, I didn't realize how crazy and how incredibly divine alignment my life has become with her. So I there was so much to say about her. So I'm gonna specifically go through my notes so that I can do justice to what I wanted to bring up. And then I'll be able to just briefly overview why it made such an impact in my life. So, Mary McLeod Bethune was born on July 10th, 1875, in Maysville, South Carolina. Former slave parent, she was the 15th of 17 children, but she was the first one who was born into freedom. Her formal education started when she was 11 at a Presbyterian school, and then she ended up graduating from a seminary, Scotia Seminary, and later on Moody Bible Institute. And I also ended up going to seminary, so we'll get to that. Shortly after, she wanted to be a missionary to Africa, and but colonization had happened, so they didn't allow her to do that. So she took it upon herself to start being much more robust about education, about spreading the word of God, about spreading opportunities for just Negro children to learn and grow and thrive. So she ended up moving because there was a Florida East Coast Railroad was coming through Daytona Beach, where she had ended up moving with her family, and she realized that the Black day laborers were going to need their children would have to be taught. So she moved to a place on 529 Oak Street, where she paid rent at $11 a month. And she ended up opening the Daytona Literary and Industrial Training School for Negroes, also one of the very first libraries that a Negro was actually able to go into. And for $1.50, she started her school with her son and five other children. And in 1923, she ended up collaborating to start with the Cookman Institute in Jacksonville to then become accredited by all the secondary schools in southern states as a junior college that everyone knows as Daytona Cookman College, now Bethune Cookman College. She ended up teaching while she was there, selling policies because she had to make a different additional income. So she became the director and president of Afro American Life Insurance, which I also teach life insurance and annuities to the youth because they need to know financial literacy and another thing that we had in common. So she also joined forces to become the central life insurance company where other Black people just didn't have any presence whatsoever. And she also wanted to have Black people. She didn't realize that Black people never could not go to the beach. And so she was so incensed about it that she spent $200,000 and got on North Indian River. She opened up Bethune Valencia Beach was incorporated. And we all know about the story of Bruce Beach that happened here in California. But I had no idea that she started a beach so that we could go there too, which was incredible. And then one of her students got very sick and she was trying to take her to the hospital and they wouldn't see her unless she went to the back door. And she was like, I'm not going through your back door. So what does she do? As she does, started her own hospital with 2 beds that ended up becoming 26 beds later. And then she, using her influence, which I call her one of the original influencers that her relationship that she had established with Teddy Roosevelt's wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, became incredibly instrumental because apparently she lived in what they called the slumlord areas. So all the people in the neighborhood and the city council came to her and said, "Hey, Mary, would you advocate for us to be able to get some housing?" And so she called a commissioner, no response. She called other people, no response. So she called the White House. Who thinks like that? She did. Called the White House, spoke to Eleanor Roosevelt, explained her situation for about an hour, and she said, "How much do you need?" She said, $500,000. And a few days later, they were cutting ground. $500,000, $500,000. And to me, that was just mind blowing. It's like to have the vision and the gumption and the fortitude to just ask for what you want. It's all in the ask sometimes, and we don't think big enough. And God says, if I gave you a vision and you think you can accomplish it on your own, it's not big enough. Here's a woman back in the day who's asking for $500,000 to the president's wife and gets it. They become like bosom buddies. Eleanor says she's one of her best friends in her age group, and they were just even to sit next to her in segregated areas when they would have big events. Dr. McLeod Bethune became an advisor to multiple U.S. presidents. Calvin Coolidge appointed her as a National Child Welfare Commissioner. Herbert Hoover appointed her to Commission of Home Building. Roosevelt appointed her special advisor on minority affairs in 1935 and director of that division of Negro Affairs of National Youth Administration, which was the highest ranking position ever held by a Negro woman. And um, Truman also appointed her to multiple other committees. In 1986, the National Association of Colored Women was formed to promote the needs of Black women. She served as president during that time, and she dreamed of having a coalition of women. So she started the National Council of Women in that vein, and they wouldn't have her, so she started her own, was very convincing, using her influence again, establishing the National Council of Negro Women on, or NCNW, on December 5th, having the first location in the state of New York in Harlem, and advocating for Black women and families. Mary McLeod also was an authority in his cabinet, and because of her first and very close relationship with the president's wife, she was allowed a civilian pilot training program to open training for Black men and people of color to become pilots. So West Virginia State College became the first Black school to adopt an aviation program because of this. And in 1939, at Tuskegee Airmen, Charles Bailey was the first Tuskegee Airman that was enrolled that came from Florida. And this was a big deal. Also, she visited the wife of Teddy Roosevelt visited that organization, had Mr. Bailey fly her around, and was so like inspired and encouraged to move forward that she convinced her husband to officially end restrictions on African Americans in military service. And so then 5,000 African American men became commissioned officers. My son is also an officer at West Point, about to graduate this year. And I'm like, dude, that would have never happened if she hadn't laid such groundwork in this regard. So she also was instrumental in having Jackie Robinson and John Wright become able to play baseball, because during the Depression and World War II, he signed an executive order allowing their provision for segregation to be desegregated in that vein. And I didn't know that either. I said, so she influenced Jackie Robinson, who was able to go into a place that he was never able to go into as well. I said, there it is again for me. Because Flame Alliance, I work with youth athletes, teaching them the FIBA rules so that they can become basketball players and get all the opportunities that they would never have just by learning the NBA. We only teach our kids half the game. Now we open up the whole globe to them and become a community where we are inspiring a global mindset. And these are just a few of the things that I got from Mary McLeod Bethune and how it impacted my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is epic. She did so much. Well, thank you for sharing and stick around because you know what we do. We are coming back together later. And so our next speaker is he's been a pastor for over 30 years. He's been a principal for a Christian school for over 18 years. He's done prison ministry for several years, and he's a chaplain in the marketplace and in healthcare. He also has a TV program called I Am Jesus. Please welcome our next speaker, Eddie Goodall. Oh, and you are muted. We need to unmute you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There you are.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. If it's good morning, good morning. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you about the person who inspired me. Again, you mentioned my name is Eddie Goodall, and the person I want to talk about is John H. Johnson. John H. Johnson. Hold on, I better get my timing on here real quickly. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, John H. Johnson. He lived in Chicago, which is my hometown as well. And I am so inspired by him. I'm so inspired, and I admire him so much because of what he's done. A lot of things I'm going to say is going to come from memory of his book that I read, Succeeding Against the Odds. And if you have never read that book, to me, it's one of the greatest books about one of the Black American entrepreneurs and achievers in our country. And one of the things that stands out to me about his book, as I say by memory, is that I can see it. He said that he was a poor boy in Arkansas, and the levee in Arkansas broke, and he ran for his life, feared that he was going to die. He was barefooted and poor, and the only thing he had was the clothes on his back. And of course, he ended up in Chicago, and he worked for a Black insurance company, Supreme Liberty Life Insurance Company in Chicago. And a lot of these places I'm going to mention, I don't live in Chicago now, but I go there often enough, several times throughout the year. But he worked for the Supreme Liberty Life Insurance Company in Chicago, and where he got his first job doing publishing and writing for that company. And the owner of the company mentored him. And from that, he got the idea to start the publishing company, which was Ebony and Jet magazine. And it's kind of funny to me when I think about Ebony and Jet magazine, because being a Black person in America, you can hardly go, at least when I was growing up, you can hardly go in any house or apartment of a Black person and not find a Jet magazine or Abbott magazine on the table. You just couldn't find it. And it was hilarious. In fact, my mother got them all the time. Well, he worked for that company. And one of the things that stands out also to me is that he said when he worked for that company, he had never seen so many professional Black people in his life. That impressed me. He said he didn't know that existed. Now, some of this I'm saying by memory, so don't hold me to verbatim words exactly as he said. And he said, and they dressed so nice. He said he had never seen anything like that. So he was so impressed with that. And as the story goes, he started his magazine. And I love the story, how he started. He was so ambitious and he had such tenacity. He said he asked his friend to help him to go and to start the publishing company, and his friend wouldn't do it, wouldn't loan him the money, and no bank would loan him the money. And he went to his mother and begged her to let him borrow her furniture and pawn her furniture to get $500 to start the company. Isn't that unique? And she gave it to him, and he promised her. And then throughout the story, as you read it, I like the fact he said that his mother, he didn't have a business partner. He said as he became successful, the person who had loaned him the money, they would have been partners 50-50. But he said his mother was his only business partner, and she didn't want to be in business with him, but every once in a while he'll send her a limousine by and pick her up and take her shopping down on Magnificent Mile in Chicago. And beside that, he ended up buying a building in Chicago on Michigan Avenue. Now, if you're familiar with Chicago at all, you know that is an achievement to be able to buy property on Michigan Avenue in Chicago on the lakefront. And I've seen the building. I've been. It was amazing. I think it's still there. That's why I said was. I think it's still there. And the building that he bought, and so, but the succeeding against the odd. I won't go into that, but to get that building, it was a challenge for him to get that building. But I also want to say that he had Fashion Fair Cosmetic, where he started the fashion show. It was the largest fashion cosmetic company in the world. He had several radio stations that he started and that he owned. And then he was also the first Black on Forbes' list of the wealthiest people in America. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Bill Clinton in 1996. Excuse me. And John Johnson, he made a few quotes that I love. And one of the quotes he made was this here. He said, the greater the hardship, the greater the triumph. The greater the hardship, the greater the triumph. And another one I like that he quoted that I admire so much. He just had a mindset to achieve, to want to be successful, and he would stop at nothing with his determination to be a successful person. And he said, failure is not a word that I accept. I love that. That's the kind of person he was. And that's why I admire him so much. And then also, as I think about him and I think about John H. Johnson, I think about the fact that I love this story. He said he's successful, and what's drive him to be successful. He said, I remember leaving Arkansas as a barefooted po' boy. And he said, I never wanted to go back to that. He said, that is what drove me to success, fearing that one day that I may wake up and be poor again. That is an amazing story to me about how John H. Johnson became a successful person. And he also showed us how through all the obstacles and all the challenges that we can encounter in America, that we still can be successful if we'll continue and have the tenacity and the determination to be successful. And then one of the ones that I love to add to that is that John H. Johnson said his goal was, this moves me. He said his goal was to get rid of the stereotypes by Black Americans, that Black Americans, that they live normal lives, that they married, they bought cars, they bought houses, they live like everybody else. And he wanted to show that to Black and white, that Black people could do those things. And let me say this as well. He said, well, he did this. He was credited to starting to the credit for the Black market, the supporting the Black commercial market, where he showed that money could be, Black people bought and people wanted to buy, and it could get in media, and they can do all kinds of things. He credited the invention of the Black commerce market. That's awesome. That's some like Black Wall Street, that he is one who is credited for that. And I thank you for the opportunity and the time to speak today.
Thank you for sharing with us. And wow. Can I borrow your furniture, Mom? Because I want to start a business. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
We'll see you in a bit.
Yes. Thank you.
Oops, I locked us all out. What did I do? there. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, that was very fascinating. I'm trapped by the whole, can I have your furniture so I can sell it? But anyways, our next speaker is an Army veteran, entrepreneur, and marketing strategist, founder of Clarified Marketing and the Extraordinary Exchange podcast, and founding member of the Extraordinary Investment Group. He's committed to advancing Black economic empowerment, strategic storytelling, and leadership development through business, media, and community initiatives. Please welcome Nate Bennett. Nate Bennett.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, but let me pin you. Add spotlight.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, thank you, Dr. Miraz. Thank you, Dr. Smiley. I want to give a shout out to Sam Partman and Paul the Connector, who invited me to share on this platform. I wish I would have went first because, wow, those first three speakers were amazing. Shout out to you, Brother McLemore, who offered the question as I'm taking notes here, right, during Black History. Who am I, right? And I'm a child of God, here to leave a legacy of love and service. Again, I've done that through my military service. I got to shout out Ms. Roz Taylor Jordan, who went before me as well. And I have to salute your son for his service at West Point. Thank you for both of your service. And for Brother Goodall, who just went as well, who gave us that phenomenal story about Mr. Johnson. The pioneer for Black history, and I actually looked up the definition of history. It's the story of the study of past events. And a lot of times we frame Black history as someone that did something a long time ago. It had to do with civil rights. They're documented in a book somewhere, but there are living people here on this platform who are testaments of what Black history looks like. So I just want to impart that upon everyone that's listening and sharing here in this platform. Again, this is a beautiful congregation of events here. The young lady I want to highlight here is Miss Melody Hobson. And excuse me if I'm reading from my notes here, but many people believe investing is only for the wealthy or the privileged. Melody Hobson has spent her life proving that financial knowledge is power, and that access to that is knowledgeable, and that can change lives. Melody Hobson is the CEO and president of Ariel Investments. And today I just want to explain how she became one of the most influential African-American leaders in finance, business, and corporate governance. And I think it's only apropos that Women's History Month coming up next month that I highlight a woman and pay homage to her. So Melanie Hobson was born in Chicago. I know a lot of Chicago natives here on this platform. In 1969, she was raised by a single mother who supported 6 children. So just imagine, single mother, Chicago. Her family faced serious financial hardships, including eviction and instability. So she saw firsthand what the lack of financial education and substance could look like. So these early experiences obviously shaped her and her perspective on money and opportunity. She did not grow up wealthy at all. Instead, she grew up witnessing what happens to people when lack of access and lack of financial knowledge are apparent. And these early humbling experiences became the sounding board for which she started, in the financial literacy space. She attended Princeton University, where she studied public policy, not finance. So to anyone out there who's listening, who's practicing in something that they didn't go to school for, most people don't. So after graduating, she joined Ariel Investments, a minority-owned investment firm, as an intern. And from that starting point, she steadily rose and built her career, earning trust and demonstrating leadership. Her rise was not overnight, but it was built on persistence, credibility, and performance. Today, she serves as the CEO and president of Ariel Investments. So she started as an intern to become CEO. And she's widely regarded as one of the most important, powerful women in finance today. She's also served on the chair of the board of Starbucks, becoming the first Black woman to hold that role. And over the years of her service, she's also served in major corporations, including J.P. Morgan Chase and Estee Lauder. Under her leadership, Arion Investments has grown into a firm managing billions and billions of dollars in assets worldwide. But her influence extends far beyond just financial performance and literacy. She's become a national voice for diversity in corporate leadership, financial education, and representation in decision-making spaces. So she literally is showing us what it looks like to achieve and then reach back and help others coming behind you. One of her most powerful statements captured in her mission clearly: financial literacy is a civil rights issue. Hobson believes that when people understand money, they gain power over their future. Throughout her career, she has worked to expand financial education, encourage diverse hiring in corporate boards, speak openly about unconscious bias in leadership, and promoting investing within underrepresented communities. So she constantly emphasizes three truths: change in outcomes, financial education changes generational wealth, and corporate diversity improves performance. In a time where our history is trying to be erased, where our representation wants to be whitewashed or thrown away, I think her legacy of representation, of starting from the bottom and working your way up to the top, her legacy of just showing what diversity looks like and the power of diversity can go a long way to our youth, to even our elders, right? She matters in history because she represents a shift in American leadership. She's not only successful in her own right, but she has helped open doors for so many others. When African Americans were excluded from financial leadership, not even just leadership, from financial literacy, we were excluded from learning how to read, learning how to write, do all those things. She's definitely breaking barriers and breaking that glass ceiling for what's possible for those that look like her. Um, Her story reminds us that leadership is not only about reaching to the top, it's about widening access for others to rise as well. Um, Melody Hobson's story reminds us that leadership is not just about climbing to the top, it's about lifting others as they rise. Through finance, education, advocacy, she has helped reshape how people think about money, opportunity, and representation in America. Um, in my bio, I didn't mention I'm a girl dad. I'm a proud father of two daughters. So stories of Miss Hobson I've shared with both of my daughters this week as I was doing research about her. And just firsthand, I see the power of representation. And when you see what's possible in someone that looks just like you, it just, in real time, I've seen it just open up the floodgates to what's possible in someone's mind. So again, thank you all for the opportunity to share this information about such an amazing pioneer who's still here to this day. You can reach out to her on social media and reach out and touch her and you know, be impacted by the story and the legacy that she's leaving. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, wow. And we have our last speaker here, and our last speaker is faith-centered author, creative entrepreneur, and grandmother who works. Her work is deeply rooted in legacy, storytelling, and cultural remembrance wrapped in love. Please welcome Gina Hill.
Good day to everyone. I am so very excited to be on this platform. I want to give a thank you to you, Dr. Michelle, for hosting for us, and to Dr. Smiley for the opportunity, and Dr. Smile, who without that relationship with Dr. Smiley, I would not be here. So I am so very grateful to be a part of this event here to this afternoon or this evening, wherever you are. I operate and direct a nonprofit called Love Marks Inc., and it is for the benefit of servicing those individuals who are caregivers to adult and children with living with autism. And so with that, it it affords me the opportunity to just love and share my experiences, as I do have an autistic son as well, who's an adult. Well, today I invite you to reflect on an individual whose life and impact continues to shape Black history and our collective futures. When we think of Black history, we often think of names that are allowed to be remembered, faces placed in textbooks, and voices preserved in public record. But some of the most powerful change makers live in the shadows, working quietly, strategically, and courageously for the freedom of others. Their impact was intentional, their risks were real, and their names were often hidden by design. I reflect on that so very much. Mary Ellen Pleasant was one of those women. She was known in her time as the mother of civil rights in California. Mary Ellen Pleasant was born in 1814. She lived until 1904. She was an African American entrepreneur, abolitionist, and civil rights activist, and often referred to as one of the wealthiest women in the 19th century. She was born in Philadelphia. She was a self made businesswoman who played a significant role in California's gold rush economy and the abolition movement. Most of her early life is unclear, but in the 1840s, she was working as an intern, apprentice, they call it, apprentice, for a tailor in Boston. And there she met her first husband, Smith. James Smith was his name. And he was an activist also. So they were busy with the Underground Railroad, helping people, as we know that the Underground Railroad was an organized network to help free slaves with secret routes and safe houses for them. So they were busy doing that as a group, uh, as a couple, and then the others that they enlisted. Well, she eventually moved to California because we mentioned that about the California gold rush. When she moved there, I want to speak about her finances. When she arrived in San Francisco, word had spread that she would be arriving in San Francisco, and she was met by a group of men who got in a bidding war to engage her as their cook. She is said to have had $15,000, and that equivalent at this writing is in 2025 was $580,000 at $80,500. So $580,500 in 85 in gold coins when she arrived in San Francisco. She managed her money cleverly. She exchanged gold into silver through Panama, 1,000 at a time. When the value of gold was high, she deposited silver into a bank and took it out in gold. She said that she was able to turn her money over rapidly. She put some of her money into a number of banks. She also divided money between a Black Baptist minister, Thomas Randolph, William West of West and Harper, and Frank Langford with a 10% interest rate. So this is the part of her story that interests me the very most, that she was an entrepreneur and a self-made businesswoman and a millionaire. Excuse me. She worked as a live-in domestic worker and made investments based upon conversations that she overheard from wealthy men as she attended to them during meals and conferences. So she was really smart. She established boarding houses, a string of laundries, and brothels. She was a co-founder of Bank of California, and she established several restaurants, including the Case and Heiser. John James Pleasant was a sea cook and who was often at a sea during their 30-year marriage. He worked with her for more than 2 decades as an abolitionist. He also worked in the fight against discrimination in the 1860s, and he died in 1877. Um, Also, she slavery, upon supporting the Underground Railroad and fund legal battles for freedom. Long before such work was considered safe or acceptable, the history tried to reduce her story to whispers. Her legacy speaks loudly of resilience, brilliance, and unwavering commitment to justice. Pleasant was also deeply involved in advocating for civil rights and equality. Excuse me. She is particularly noted for using her wealth and influence to support the abolition of slavery, fund African American schools, advocate for women's suffrage. Despite facing significant racial and gender discrimination, she became one of the wealthiest women in the U.S., a key figure in the African American history. I tend to keep on reiterating that because that is what is most important to us as Black women, to be encouraged by some of those forerunners that we can and we are independent and we are thought thinkers. We can create wealth and we can be smart business women as well. Let's see. I think we're going to the time of her demise. Now, Pleasant became quite weakened and near death, and a friend of hers, Olive Sherwood, took her to her house, the Linwood Sherwood residence on Filbert Street, that was in California. She lived there until she passed on January 11th, 1904. Today, as we honor Black history, we pause to reclaim her name, her work, and her rightful place among those who shaped the course of freedom, not from a podium, but from behind the scenes where courage often lives. I am so grateful again for this opportunity. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Michelle.
It's been a pleasure to have you. It's been a pleasure to have you. And I realized that I never shared who I was or who I wanted to speak about. And for those of you who have no idea who I am, my name is Dr. Michelle Moras, and I am an award-winning global keynote speaker. I do TEDx's, I train executive speaking and stage performance, best-selling international author. I think I have about 40 books under my belt. 30 of them are international bestsellers. I'm a performing artist, so I'm a singer. I do a lot of jazz. And I believe that everyone has a story worth sharing, owning that story, sharing it, and a voice powerful enough to share that story and change the world unapologetically. Now, I want to share really, really quickly because the person I wanted to talk about real quick is a teacher of mine from 7th grade. I was a military brat, so grew up in the Philippines, and this is a DoD teacher. Her name was Dr. Lillian Johnson. And what really affected me with Dr. Lillian Johnson is she was a Black woman who walked with Martin Luther King Jr. And she opened my eyes to the power of speech through Dr. Martin Luther King. And she's like, I want you to watch this man speak and watch how he shifted the world with just his voice. No violence, no anger. Look at him. And I remember watching him and thinking, one day I want to be like that. One day I want to be able to change the world without being angry or violent or whatever. You have to understand, when I met her, it was in the Philippines when martial law took over. Marcos became the dictator of the Philippines, and there were people dying in the streets and riots all the time. And she was showing us there's another way. And I remember thinking, if I could grow my voice to that level, I would be able to help change the world. Now, people would say, ha, you're a girl. There's no way. But Lillian Johnson was a girl like me. She was brown and she was smart. And I remember thinking, I want to be like her too. Dr. Lillian Johnson, besides my father getting his doctorate, but Dr. Lillian Johnson made me understand that as a Black woman, I could be a doctor. And she opened the possibilities that I could help change the world with my heart and peacefully with the person I am and what I bring into the world. So Dr. Lillian Johnson is who I wanted to share with. Teacher from 7th grade. I searched all over the internet to try to find her, but cannot find her anywhere. And I wanted to make sure that the world knew that she is who I wanted to share with. So if you could all come back on and we will share what we learned together. Remove spotlight. Let me see if I can do that. Remove spotlight, remove pin. Does that work? I don't know how to make us all come back on. I'm learning something new every day. I don't know how to do this. So you're pinned. So I'll be pinned, I guess. No, that unpins everybody else. Nope, there's 2 of us. Help. Back office, help. Okay, she said, get off the keyboard, Dr. Moraz. I've got this. I will leave it alone. I am not touching anything. What I have been so amazed with this whole event that we've been doing for an hour every day, this is the 23rd day, is that we aren't doubling up on who we're honoring. And we all have found a different person for other reasons. And I find that just so heartwarming, awesome. Heartwarming, awesome. Because I don't believe Black History should be a month, but I will take the month because it used to be, I think, a day. And so now we have a month. And as a Black community and as a platform that we have here on Perfect Publishing, just keep going. I don't understand why we have to lock ourselves into a month. So I say, when we do International Women's Month on March 8th, come on and we talk about more, because that's the thing. There are so many influential people in our past and in our current that we need to highlight, because the younger people, this younger generation, doesn't recognize how much we've come through to be the people we are today on a broadcast talking about the past. And what's cool is one day, let's say 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to be talked about by another group of people saying that we influenced them. That's power. So what did you all learn today? Who wants to talk? Come on in.
If I may, Dr. Miraz, you said, shout out to Dr. Lillian Johnson. You said, if one day you could be like that, looking at Dr. King, I just want to let you know that you are that. I've done research just within the last couple of days, looking at previous guests this week, and just see your presence, see your command, the tips that you gave within, preparing for this were very informative. So just, you probably already know, but I just want to impart on you that you are doing that, you are changing the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Secondly, you're right. I mean, again, it's funny when we talk about Black history, especially with the youth, they think black and white TVs, right? And if you do your research, like, that was intentionally done and still intentionally done. Some of those things during the civil rights movement, when you put them in color, like look at a specific picture and then look at it in color, which is what it was. It makes it more real. It makes it more present. It makes it not something that happened so long ago. We still have relatives that marched with Dr. King. We still have family members that remember not being able to sit. We still have family members that couldn't vote, right?
To say, my
So,
father, I remember my father saying, I used to have to go to the door, and if I was dark, if you were darker than the paper bag, we couldn't walk in the room. You know, I'm
right.
from Louisiana, so you know, I don't know how it was everywhere else. I know how it was in New Orleans, and yeah,
Yep.
people don't realize we are living history.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Nate.
Yes, we are. I'd like to add that in my era, growing up in Alabama, and I'd like to say my father just protected me,
You know,
shielded
man.
us from a lot of things, you know. I did not even know who Martin Luther King was until he got shot and killed. I was so crushed. When I think about it now, I think I may have been about 8 years old. I'm not too sure, but I can still see my sister running across the front lawn. She had ridden a bus from college, and she ran across the front lawn, and it was chilly, and she ran in the house and told my mother. She said, Martin Luther King just got killed. And I said, who is he? And they had to sit me down and explain to me who he was. And
Okay.
point on, I
There we
always
go.
wanted to, I feel like if I had been more in the know, I would myself want to be more involved. And then as I grew older, I did. Of course, I was in a passive area of the country, so it wasn't encouraged as much, but I also did want to do that. And it's my desire always, and I try and make certain that others are educated, more educated, children especially, because to me that was such a disservice, not even knowing who he was until after he was dead.
Wow. I've never heard that before. Wow. But you know now. I mean, and that's what I remember growing up in the Philippines. I'm a mixed race kid. And growing up in the Philippines, I only learned about Philippine culture. And then in the history books, I saw slaves. And that was it. And I remember telling my dad when Dr. Johnson said, you know, you're Black. And I said, yeah, like my dad. And she says, no, you're a race of people. You're Black. And I said, like slaves? And she said, like slaves, Michelle. And I remember running home and telling my dad, Dad, we're slaves. And he goes, no, we're not slaves. We're not slaves. He goes, I'm in the military. We've moved from that. Your great grandfather was a slave. And he had to explain all this to me. And I remember having a complete meltdown because here I was thinking I could be like Martin Luther King Jr. and I'm going to get a doctorate degree like Dr. Lillian Johnson. And then I found out I was a slave and my mom's Filipino and all the Filipinos were servants. And I'm like, I can't be who I want to be. And I remember just crying and crying. And Dr. Lillian Johnson pulled me over. Well, my dad pulled me over, and then Dr. Lillian came over and talked to me and said, you can be whatever you want to be, baby. Don't you let any of that hold you back. And here I am, Dr. Michelle, talking around the world like Dr. Martin Luther King in my own way. But it's amazing what we were shielded from. Yeah. Don't let me keep talking, you know, I'll keep talking. So who would like to share? Eddie? Yeah, unmute yourself, man. Yeah, it won't let me unmute you.
Okay.
There. I think you're still muted.
So yes, I'm still mute. Oh,
There you are. There you are.
oh, okay. Can you hear me? Okay. And of course, he talked about Melody Hobson from Chicago. I don't recall ever hearing about her, but I like the story because I'm kind of biased being from Chicago and all. But that's a great story. That's a great story. And also, besides, I mentioned something about Mary Bethune recently at a meeting I was at. So I love the story about Mary Bethune and all of this. And then I learned about somebody I didn't know about, Pleasant. I think her name Mary Pleasant. So this was very good. And then learn about some of the things about you, Dr. Miraz, and just hearing your story and that story about Dr. Martin Luther King, how it influenced and impacted your life. This is a very amazing thing for us to be here and being able to do this and talk about people who have impacted us. Thank you again. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. Now you're on mute, Dr. Michelle.
I can't hear you.
Make sure you put the name of your historical figure so that we make sure we have it on the spreadsheet, because what you don't, I don't know if you know, Dr. Smiley's making a book, and he's putting the photos of everyone that we talk about and our videos, our transcripts of what we've said about these people. So put the name in so we make sure we get a picture and all, and they're included in a book.
Okay. I tried to do that. I need to know how to do that. I'm not too.
No, just put it in the chat and I'll put it in.
Okay. I'll do that. I'll do it.
You.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Raj, you're quiet and smiley back there. What's going on?
Okay. I love to listen. I learned so much by listening, and I'm so encouraged, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Nate. And Eddie. I'm my name, Roz Taylor Jordan, is actually TJ Trust Jesus.
Oh,
that's what I go by. I literally am sold out for him. And that's one of the things that I realized going through this. Mary McLeod Bethune went to seminary. I graduated magna cum laude from California Graduate School of Theology. Jack Hafer, Jerry Falwell. My professor is now the head of the school. Having Dr. Smiley give us an opportunity. Nate, you recognizing, it's hard to get through West Point and come through that. And I just honor every single serviceman, every single person who's come, like Miss Pleasant, thank you so much, Jean, just letting us know. So is Mary. They're the first millionaires. Everything is possible. We didn't get here on our own. We're on the backs of so many people. And one of the things that I love about what Dr. Smiley, thank you so much, Ken, for inviting me. And thank you, Dr. Miraz, for just being so eloquent and beautiful and gracious, is that we have, that's why I'm in streaming now. Like, I started in reality television, but now I get to talk to 162 countries. Love to have you guys on as my podcast guest, by the way. But I would love it. And just let's keep building we need to be out to the world. Like, this is global. This is movement that you have is global. Every bit of your financial literacy, I would love, the kids need to know. We didn't understand. Weren't taught these things. We weren't taught how it's going to impact your life and lose grandma's house if you don't pay your taxes. Or why is it that I'm, on constantly living paycheck to paycheck, or I get a name, image, likeness deal from these big events, and I somehow, when I leave the NBA, I'm broke. Why is that? Because nobody's taking the time to teach them. So Flame Alliance, which is my passion now, is to bring allies like you guys to help teach those youth the things that they need to know. I'm media, I'm TV 30 years, but I know what media training is. I know how you need to present yourself, which is why what you do is so important, why each of you on this platform are so wonderful and able to speak so well and do such a great service to those who've come behind us. So I just want to encourage you to let you know you encouraged me. That's all. And I want to say thank you.
All together. Well, I just found out something when I'm looking at that spreadsheet. I have everyone's email. So what I'll do is I'll email us all as a group so we can be connected, because as we all know, this did not happen on accident. And I was not supposed to be the host today. I got pulled in at the last minute, and I can't wait to find out what happens. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And remember, we are every day of February. We are doing the Bold Leaders of Authority, Courage, and Knowledge Hour of Power, the Black Hour of Power. And same bat time, same bat channel. Tomorrow, we'll have another 6 to 7 people who will come share a historical figure here on the Dr. Smiley Keep Smiling channel on YouTube. And make sure you share it, because the more we share, the more we learn, the more we learn, the more we grow. Right? So thank you all for joining us, And make sure you share this because now it's full out on YouTube and now we can share the recording. And I'll send you all an email. Okay? Thank you. You don't have to mute. We're on YouTube. We're just waving bye-bye.
Everybody
Peace.
have a good night.